Welcome to this video review, and today I'm going to talk about Leica Fortis 6 1:6 by 24. This is a wide-angle scope made for driven hunts by Leica, and it was introduced in 2019. At the time of its introduction at EVA in 2019, when we were on the stand at EVA, it was quite a controversy why Leica did yet another 6x zoom rifle scope, because they have Magnus, which is really an outstanding series of rifle scopes. So everybody was questioning why the Fortis 6 has been made. Well, what Leica decided was that, honestly speaking, they looked at their competitors and they said, okay, we need to pitch something against the Swarovski Z6. Because the Swarovski Z6 was the benchmark for so many years when it came out in 2007. And when Magnus came out, Magnus somehow competed against the Swarovski Z6. They even have a big lawsuit between Leica and Swarovski when Magnus came out. I think Leica won that argument. And later, normally Swarovski did the Z8 series, and they lowered the prices on their Z6 rifle scopes. But Leica still said, okay, our Magnus is as good as the Z8 from Swarovski, so we need something with a lower price which will compete against the Z6. Even though Magnus is basically a 7x or 6.7 times zoom, not an 8x zoom like Swarovski Z8, they still decided to do something with a I would say a round number, 6x zoom, to compete against the Z6. So they came out with Fortis 6. And at the beginning it was like really hard to understand why they have two such similar scopes, and my first impression was if Fortis 6 will compete against the Magnus and cannibalized its share of sales in the Leica lineup. But now when we have a little bit more experience with Fortis 6, it starts to become more obvious and a little bit easier to understand what actually they did and why Fortis 6 is pitched against the Z6. So first of all, I have to say, what is the price point? The price point of this scope is roughly 1,700 euros, so between 10 and 15% lower than the Swarovski Z6. It has a really modern design, undisputably Leica design. It's made in Portugal, where Leica has their own factory, where they do also all the geovids and they do most of their binoculars there. There were many questions regarding what about the quality of binoculars made in Portugal at the beginning when Leica decided to build a factory there. Now, after 10 years or more, we see that products coming from Portugal, from Leica factory, are on par with quality with all German products. So there is no question about it. But the fact that they are made in Portugal lowers the price, and this is the reason why Fortis 6 can cost, let's say, 15% less than Swarovski Z6. The other things what they did compared to Magnus to lower the price is the illumination system. So the illumination system is very basic compared to the Magnus, which is really, really sophisticated. So the illumination system is controlled on the side turret and goes all the way from 0 to 9. And you see that there are dots between for the even numbers, so 8, 6, 4 are dots, and the illumination is still turned on when it's on a dot, so it doesn't have a turn off. Maybe you can see it here. It doesn't have a turn off function in between. It does have position sensor, so when you point the rifle scopes down or up or left or right, it turns off immediately, and also after some time when it's completely still. So they cut the cost on the production, they cut the cost on the illumination. They didn't cut the cost on the optics. If you go through the physical part, as you can see, very modern, very Leica, I would say Leica-centric design. the scope itself is roughly 27 centimeters long, and it weighs approximately 550 grams. 30 millimeter central tube. It can be ordered also with a Zeiss ZMVM rail, which is a standard rail which many producers use, and also Leica. The illumination is powered by CR2032 battery, and normally the scope is completely waterproofed, sealed, I apologize, and filled with dry nitrogen. The warranty is 10 years, and it can be mounted on any rifle you wish, so it's rated for all the calibers, also the most powerful ones like 9.3 by 62 or 300 Win Mag, 375 Holland and similar. If I go back to, in general, it has a really nice fit and finish. It's really beautiful scope, and you get true Leica quality with it. Together with the scope you also get a bikini cover, you get a lens cleaner, so a normal cleaning cloth, and you get the warranty card for 10 years. And you also get a certificate who packed the product and who checked the product when it left the factory. A manual, a really short one, much smaller than that from Magnus. And like with all Leicas, which I think it's a really nice touch, you get a whole accessories catalog with your purchase. Really nice touch. So you see all the additions you're able to buy for your Leica. Really, really nice. Okay, if I go to the reticle, another fact how they cut the cost is that there is only one reticle option in this scope, because we know this was something what Zeiss already did with their Duralit series and later Conquest. We know that the cost of the production is much lower if you have only a single reticle choice, and this is the case with this Leica also. So it's only 4A, normal hunting reticle, and it has a illuminated central dot, a really small one. Really nice one, fine one. I think that only Zeiss has a smaller dot. I think that even Swarovski dot is bigger than in this this rifle scope. And like I said, the illumination has 9 intensity levels. It goes all the way to really bright daytime usable. It's equally bright as on the Magnus. It's really impossible to see any difference. It has a position sensor, and it has also an automatic turn off. So if you just leave it alone, and I think 2 hours or 3 hours afterwards it will turn off by itself. The turrets are capped, low profile hunting turrets, and you can see standard turrets that you also find on all other scopes made by Leica. Really nice clicks, 1 centimeter per 100 meters, crisp, and also I think quite audible. Yeah, really, really nice. It doesn't have the feature that you would just push in and be able to reset the zero or pull out. So it lacks this function, even though on a, let's be honest, on a wide angle scope made for driven hunt, it's not really necessary. The elevation range is 14 mils, the windage range is also 14 mils, that means 1.4 meter at 100 meters. It has multi-turns, so a multi-turn design of the turret. It doesn't have a zero stop or a locking function because this scope of this type is not really important. Also the turn indicator is not present, which is not important. Really simple, effective, and really with crisp clicks. Now if I come to the magnification, like I said on the start, they didn't save money on the optics, and this is something what really shocked us when we got this scope, because we always thought, okay, what's Leica doing? They are going to compete directly against the Magnus, but we see with small details like only one single reticle, more simple illumination system and so on that they did, and with production in Portugal they did get the costs down. But when you see the optics, in my opinion, this is one of the best, if not the best, 6x zoom scope on the market. And this was shock for me because, honestly speaking, we didn't really pay enough attention to 46 when it came out. I also think that maybe the communication from Leica was not really that good, because I think that, honestly speaking, they should make the Magnus 8 times zoom or 10 times zoom and 46 a 6 times zoom, because now they're really close, and so we all always look towards the Magnus. We didn't pay enough attention to 46. But when you take into the consideration that this is 1,700 euros scope, and when you look through it, it's magnificent. Honestly speaking, really above all expectations. First of all, the light transmission rate, you see immediately that the image is brighter than in other competitors. Normally, this scope came out last year, so Leica had enough time to make it better than everything else what is on the market for many years. Second of all, this scope features 44 meters of field of view. 44 meters. This is more than any other scope with a 6 times zoom. Astonishing. They say that light transmission rate is 92%, and we know that these super zoom scopes, everything what has a zoom ratio above 6 times, usually had a problem with the light transmission rate. So with a 1 to 6 model, it's not really that important, but with, let's say, with 2 to 12 and 2.5 to 15, they are probably among the brightest scopes you can get with a 6 times zoom at the moment. Eye relief is 9 centimeters. Normally it features a fast focus, like on all modern European scopes, and really above expectations when we talk about the optics. The only thing what I think is still better on the Magnus is the eye box. So they had to leave something for Magnus for the model 1 to 6.3, and normally the illumination system is more sophisticated, but apart from that, a really astonishing optical quality for this price point. Okay, so like in every review I do, at the end I go through the positives and through the sides of the product where there is some room for improvement. I usually say from sweet and sour. So what is really positive about this scope? I think the price point, especially when you're considering the optical quality. If you have the chance, look through this scope, because for me it was an eye-opening. I really didn't expect such a good optics. Maybe also the reason is that when we looked at the I think ER and Visus scopes, which were previous rifle scopes made in Portugal, they were all really nicely designed, really well made and so on, but the optics was never astonishing. We always knew that, okay, Magnus is really perfect in terms of optical performance, but Visus was never that good, and ER also was not that good. But when you come to 46, this really changed. The optical performance is astonishing. The field of view, 44 meters of field of view, is just really astonishing. Also the red dot, it does have only 9 intensity levels, that's true, but still the brightness on the top, on the 9th level, is more than powerful enough for any daytime bright use. So I also like the size and the weight. 550 grams is, I would say, average, and it's still a light and small, elegant scope. What I think could have been done better? Okay, the illumination, but normally I understand they needed to make some difference compared to Magnus. I also think that maybe they should offer multiple reticles, but again, then the whole point of Magnus would, then this scope would really cannibalize Magnus. All in all, I still think that they should just make a bigger zoom ratio on Magnus, because the competition between Magnus and M46 does exist still. Apart from, if you look for other competitors with the 6 times zoom, I think only few come close, really. I was so amazed by this Leica Fortis. I have to be honest that in a long time I was not amazed as much from any scopes than this, but maybe because my expectations were not that high. Honestly speaking, I was expecting less in terms of optical performance that I got. What I also think could have been done better if we go back to the sour. So the illumination should have more intensity levels than 9, and the eye box. The eye box could have been done a little bit better. in a way like with Magnus, where you have one of the best eye boxes. And the eye box is sensitivity to the eye position. So with Magnus, you just put your eye behind the scope and you immediately will get the image. Here, the scope is a little bit more sensitive to the eye position. So thank you for watching. Please check the review of Magnus and from other competitors which have 1 to 6 scopes. If you have any additional questions, check our webpage or send us an email. Thank you.